I'm here today with a heart full of gratitude to tell you the story that completely changed my life. My name is Omar Hassan, I live in Toronto, Canada, and I'm 23 years old. But let me take you back to where it all began, Amman, Jordan, where I grew up with my parents. It's the city I was born in, the place that shaped my early years. Amman is a vibrant, noisy place with narrow streets packed with people, markets bursting with the smell of fresh bread, spices, grilled meat, and the call to prayer ringing from the mosques 5 times a day. Our home was a modest apartment in a working-class area where the walls were so thin I could hear every argument or burst of laughter from next door. Late at night, the air carried the scent of coffee and dust, and every morning I'd wake up to the clanging of pots as my mom made breakfast, usually bread, olives, cheese, and strong tea to kick off the day. I was their only child, which meant I carried all their hopes and dreams. My dad, Hassan, is 48 and drives a taxi through the packed streets of Amman to support us. He's a tough man, his voice loud, his temper sharp. Sometimes he'd come home exhausted, shirt soaked with sweat, and say, "Omar, you have to be a better Muslim. Study hard, make us proud." He wanted me to become an engineer, to land a good job, to show everyone in our neighborhood that the Hassan name stood for something. But his expectations weighed heavily on me. I lived in constant fear of disappointing him, of not measuring up. My mother, Layla, is 42. She's gentle, always cooking, cleaning, and praying for my well-being. At dawn she'd softly call me for prayer. "Omar, come pray with us." Her eyes held worry as she noticed how withdrawn I'd become. "Are you okay, Omar?" she'd ask, kneading dough for bread. I'd nod and answer, "Yes, Mama." But inside I was struggling. I didn't know how to tell her that I felt hollow, that I wasn't sure if Allah was pleased with me, or if I even truly believed. I was attending university, majoring in engineering, and it felt overwhelming. I had constant anxiety, always on edge about grades, failure, and disappointing my family. At night I'd lie awake, staring at the cracked ceiling, my heart pounding. I'd pray to Allah, begging for a sign, for comfort, for assurance He was there. But all I got was silence, a silence that made me feel even more alone. In the next room I'd hear my father snoring, my mother whispering prayers, and I'd wonder if I was the only one who felt like this. At school I didn't fit in. Some students didn't care about religion, they'd skip prayers, hang out in cafes, laugh, smoke shisha. Others were rigid, judging me if I missed a sunnah or didn't pray on time. One day a guy named Khaled caught me eating during Ramadan. I'd completely forgotten we were fasting. I was too stressed about an exam. He gave me a hard stare and said, "Omar, you're a bad Muslim, you'll answer to Allah for this." His words hit me hard. I felt so ashamed, even though it was an honest mistake. I began isolating myself, afraid of being judged. My best friend Youssef was 24, lighthearted and easygoing, not too serious about faith. He studied business, always cracking jokes to cheer me up. We'd sit on the stairs outside the engineering building sharing a soda, and he'd say, "Omar, chill out. One missed prayer won't send you to hell." I'd smile, but deep down his words didn't bring peace. I longed for a real connection with God, for inner peace, but I didn't know how to reach it. Youssef would sometimes drag me to the market where we'd grab cheap falafel and watch vendors argue playfully with customers. Those were the few moments I felt a bit lighter, but that weight on my chest always returned. One day in class, the stress was so intense I couldn't concentrate. The professor was lecturing about structural design, but my mind was elsewhere, lost in my father's demands, my mother's concerned looks, and my own confusion. A girl named Maryam noticed. She was 21, quiet, and always wore a small cross necklace. She was Christian, which was uncommon in Jordan, and some students gossiped about her, calling her different. But she was kind to me. After class she approached and gently said, "Omar, you look really down. God sees your heart, you know." Her words threw me off. In Islam, faith was about obeying, praying, fasting, giving. No one talked about hearts. I muttered a quick thanks and walked away. But what she said stuck with me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my head. I opened my phone and typed "God sees the heart" into the search bar. A Bible verse came up, not from the Quran. It read, "The Lord looks at the heart." It was from something called 1 Samuel. I'd never read the Bible before. My father would have been furious if he knew. But I couldn't stop wondering, what if God really cared about what was inside me, not just what I did? What if faith was deeper than the rituals I'd been taught? I tried to shake it off. I was Muslim. I had to keep praying, studying, staying on the right path. But inside I was cracking. I didn't know how much longer I could carry it all. I had no idea then, but everything was about to change. It was a scorching afternoon in Amman in 2023, a few weeks after that talk with Maryam. I was walking home from class, my backpack heavy with books, my head full of stress. The streets were buzzing, vendors shouting about fresh produce, cars honking, kids darting around, chasing a soccer ball. The heat was unbearable, sweat pouring down my back. I hadn't eaten because I was fasting for a religious holiday, one of those extra fasts my father encouraged, hoping it would please Allah. I'd been so buried in exam prep that I forgot to drink water. The heat made my head spin. I kept thinking about the big engineering test the next day. I'd studied all night, my eyes stinging from reading, but I still didn't feel prepared. My father's voice echoed in my mind. "Omar, you have to make us proud." I felt like I was failing him, failing Allah, failing myself. My chest felt tight, my breath shallow. I kept telling myself, just make it home, Omar, you can rest there. But as I turned onto a narrow alley near the market, my vision blurred. My legs went weak, like they didn't belong to me. I tried to steady myself on a wall, but missed. I fell, hard. My head hit the pavement, and everything went dark. I heard a snap, and pain exploded in my head. Voices around me rose in panic. "Help him! Call for help!" A woman in a hijab dropped to her knees beside me, her voice shaking. "He's not moving! Somebody please!" A man pushing a cart of oranges stopped and shouted for a doctor. A boy ran off to grab some water. I could hear them all, but their voices sounded muffled, like I was deep underwater. My eyes started to close, and everything went dark. I thought I was dying. I was terrified. I wasn't ready to face Allah. I hadn't done enough. I'd skipped prayers. I had doubts. Just a few days ago, I'd accidentally eaten during Ramadan. I thought, this is it. I'm going to hell. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't on the street anymore. I was in a horrible, dark place. A place I didn't recognize, but somehow I knew it was hell. The air was thick with smoke. It hurt to breathe. My throat burned with every breath. The ground beneath me felt like it was made of fire, burning right through my shoes. All around me I heard screaming, agonizing cries that made my chest tighten with fear. I saw fire in the distance, bright orange and red, licking at the shadows. The smell of burning was everywhere, sickening and heavy. My body trembled as I looked around, and that's when I saw them. People I recognized, engulfed in the flames. One of them was an Imam from our mosque, Sheikh Ahmed, strict, devout, always telling us to pray, to obey, to never question. He was on fire, face twisted with pain, screaming. He looked right at me and cried out, "I was wrong, Omar. The rules didn't save me. I thought I was enough, but I wasn't." His voice shook with terror as he reached for me, hands charred and black. "You'll end up here too, Omar, unless you find the truth." I stumbled back, covering my face. I didn't want to believe it. He had been so certain, so sure. How could this happen? And then I saw something worse. I saw myself. I was in the flames, my face contorted in pain, screaming. I never found peace. I never found peace. My doubts, my fears, my anxiety, they were destroying me. Even in this place I saw my future, trying so hard to follow Islam, trying to be good, but it was never enough. I still ended up here, in torment with no hope. I saw my funeral, my father standing at my grave, his face cold. I failed him, he said. I wasn't enough. My mother was crying, hands over her face, whispering, I should have helped him. I should have seen his pain. I felt like a ghost watching them suffer, and it broke me. I collapsed to my knees, tears running down my face, skin burning in the heat. I screamed out, Allah, save me, please save me. But the darkness grew heavier, the screams got louder. I felt like I was drowning in fear. I thought of every prayer, every fast, every rule I tried to follow. Why wasn't it enough? Why am I here? I saw my life flashing in pieces, every missed prayer, every doubt, every moment. I felt hollow. I saw myself in my room staring at the ceiling, heart pounding with anxiety, desperate for peace but never finding it. I thought, this is what I deserve, this is forever. But then, something changed. A light appeared, tiny at first, like a single star in the black sky. It grew brighter, slowly pushing back the shadows. The fire around me began to dim, the screams faded, and for the first time, I felt warmth that didn't burn. It was soft, like being wrapped in a blanket. I looked up, eyes wide, a flicker of hope rising in my chest. I didn't know what it meant, but it felt different, like something might finally pull me out. I was still surrounded by that darkness, heart pounding, the memory of my own face in the flames still fresh. It was overwhelming. I thought I was beyond saving, that peace would never come, but the light kept growing. It pushed back the dark like a rising tide. The flames vanished, the screams faded to whispers, the air cleared, I could breathe again. The warmth around me felt like arms embracing me, safe, calm. And then out of the light, I saw him. A man stood there, glowing. His clothes shone like sunlight and his face radiated love and peace. I'd never seen him before, but I knew exactly who he was. It was Jesus. I felt small, ashamed, shaking as I stared at him. I'm Muslim, I thought. This doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to see Allah, not Jesus." But he spoke, and his voice was like still water, soft but powerful, able to quiet a storm. "Omar," he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." His words struck me like lightning, echoing through my chest, and I couldn't take my eyes off him. It felt like he saw everything inside me. My doubts, my fears, my pain, and still, he loved me. Jesus stepped closer, and I saw his hands. There were scars where nails had pierced them, deep haunting marks that made my heart ache. Then he showed me his side, where a spear had torn through him, and said, "I died for you, Omar, so you could have peace and eternal life." I broke down, tears running down my face, overwhelmed by a love I'd never known before. It wasn't like the love I'd tried to feel through my prayers to Allah. This was alive, real, like it was lifting me up. Jesus reached for my hand and the darkness vanished instantly. Suddenly I was standing in the most beautiful garden I'd ever seen. The grass was soft under my feet, a stream sparkled nearby in the sunlight, and flowers in every color surrounded us, red, yellow, blue. The air smelled sweet like jasmine, and birds filled the sky with songs so beautiful I never wanted them to end. A warm golden light surrounded us, and I felt completely safe, like nothing could ever harm me again. Jesus walked beside me through the garden, and I saw a city far off in the distance, glowing like gold, its gates sparkling like precious stones. He said, "This is heaven, Omar. There's no fear here, no pain, only joy." I saw people there, laughing, smiling, their faces peaceful. And then I saw my grandfather, a gentle man who passed away when I was young. He used to tell me stories while I sat on his lap, sneaking me sweets when my parents weren't looking. I'd always believed he was a good Muslim, but Jesus said, "He found me before he died, Omar." He believed in me quietly, and now he's with me forever. My grandfather smiled at me, his eyes bright. He waved. My heart was full for him, but also deeply confused. My grandfather a Christian? I had no idea. Then Jesus turned to me and said, "Look at your life, Omar." And I saw myself, praying, fasting, doing everything I was taught as a Muslim. I saw myself kneeling, forehead to the floor, whispering prayers I'd known since childhood. I saw the hunger, the headaches during Ramadan, pushing through because I believed it pleased Allah, but Jesus said, "Look closer." And I saw it, how empty I felt even when I did everything right. My prayers felt like recitations, my fasting like something I had to survive. I never felt close to God, never felt peace. I saw myself lying in bed at night, heart pounding, whispering into the silence, "Am I good enough? Does Allah hear me?" But there was never an answer. Jesus said, "Your works can't save you, Omar. They can't close the distance between you and God. Only my grace can. I'm the way to peace." I saw how lost I was in my faith, always trying, always falling short. The rules I followed, praying 5 times daily, avoiding pork, giving zakat, felt like chains around my heart, heavy, fearful. Then Jesus showed me the cross, showed me how he bled for my sins, how his love opened the path to God. I felt both crushed and comforted, ashamed of my failures, but overwhelmed with love knowing he still chose to die for me. Then Jesus showed me 2 futures, and they changed everything. In the first, I continued on the same path, following Islam, trying to be enough. I grew older, but the anxiety worsened, the doubts got louder. Eventually I collapsed again, this time for good, and I was back in hell, tormented, lost. I saw my parents again, at my funeral. My father stood there, face hard, saying he'd failed. My mother wept, whispering she should have helped me. Watching them crushed me. Knowing I'd never found peace hurt more than the flames. But then Jesus showed me another future. This time, I was following him. My face was calm, full of peace. The anxiety was gone. I saw myself smiling, lighthearted, reading the Bible in a quiet room. I saw myself loving my parents, really loving them, sitting at the kitchen table, talking to them about Jesus. I saw my father's stern face soften. My mother's eyes, once filled with worry, glowed with hope. I saw myself on campus sharing Jesus with other students. Their faces lit up as they found the same peace I had. I saw a crowd, Muslims, Christians, others listening to my story. Some cried, some prayed. Jesus said, "This is the life I have for you, Omar. I love your family. I love your people. Go back and tell them my truth." I dropped to my knees, tears falling freely. I said, "How can I, Jesus? I'm Muslim, my family, my whole world. They'll hate me. They'll think I'm a traitor." Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder, and I felt strength like never before, a fire inside me, but a good one. It gave me courage. He said, "It won't be easy, Omar. Some will reject you, some may even hurt you, but I'll be with you. I'll give you the peace you've searched for." Then he said something I'll never forget. "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." His words lifted a heavy weight from me. I felt free, like I was breathing after years underwater. I looked at him, heart wide open, and said, "I'll follow you, Jesus. I want this peace. I want this life." He smiled. The light around us flared brighter, surrounding me in warmth. I saw the garden again, one last time. The stream sparkled, the flowers swayed in the breeze, and I knew I'd carry this place in my heart forever. Jesus said, "Go back, Omar. Be my light in the darkness." I nodded, ready to obey, even if it meant losing everything I once knew. I'd seen hell, I'd seen heaven, and I'd seen the truth. Jesus was the only way, and I was ready to follow him, whatever the cost. I woke up in a hospital in Amman, the sound of machines beeping around me. My head pounded, my body weak like I'd been asleep for days. I opened my eyes slowly, blinking against the lights. My mother, Layla, was sitting at my bedside. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She held my hand so tight it hurt. When she saw me awake, she gasped, "Omar, you're awake!" "Thank God!" She began to cry again, this time with joy. She leaned down, kissed my forehead, her hands trembling. I tried to sit up, but dizziness kept me down. "What happened, Mama?" I asked, my voice rough. She wiped her face and said, "You collapsed on the street. You hit your head badly. There was so much blood. People called an ambulance. They brought you here. You were out for hours, Omar. The doctors weren't sure you'd wake up. It's a miracle. A real miracle." My heart pounded. I looked at her and whispered, "Jesus save me, Mama." She froze. Her eyes widened. Her hand still gripped mine. "What do you mean, Omar?" she asked, her voice low and shaking. "You were calling for Allah," she said. "That's what people heard." I took a breath, my throat dry, and began to tell her everything. How I'd seen hell. How I saw myself burning in it. How anxiety consumed me. How Sheikh Ahmed screamed that the rules didn't save him. How Jesus came. How he showed me his scars. How he brought me to heaven. How I saw my grandfather, who believed in him quietly before he died. I told her how Jesus revealed the emptiness of my religion, how my prayers and fasting never gave me peace, how he showed me both paths, the one that led to hell, and the one that led to him. Jesus told me he's the only way, Mama. He told me to share his truth. She listened quietly, her face filled with fear and something else, curiosity. She kept glancing at the door, afraid someone might hear. When I finished, she whispered, "Omar, be careful, your father, he won't take this well. He'll be furious, and the mosque, if they hear, Omar, they'll call you an apostate. You know what that means here?" I nodded, heart heavy, but inside I felt something new, peace. Jesus had promised, and I felt it now. I said, "I know, Mama, but I can't keep quiet, it's the truth." Just then my father Hassan walked in. He'd been talking to the doctor. He caught the last part of what I said. His face turned red, his eyes darkened. "What nonsense is this, Omar?" he shouted, loud enough for the nurse to glance in. "Jesus? Apostate? What are you saying?" I tried to speak, my voice trembling. "Papa, I saw hell. I saw myself in it. But Jesus came to me. He showed me the truth. He's the only way to peace." My father slammed his hand against the wall, making me flinch. "You're sick, that's all," he yelled. "You hit your head and now you're talking crazy. You're Muslim, Omar. We raised you right. Stop this madness. You'll shame us all." My mother began to sob again, hands covering her face. "Please, Hassan. He just woke up. Let him rest." But my father pointed at me, voice ice cold. "Forget this, Omar, or I swear you'll destroy everything." Then he stormed out, leaving only silence behind. A few days later I was discharged and went back to our small apartment in Amman. But nothing felt the same anymore. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the air grew heavier by the day. I began reading the Bible on my phone, hiding it from my parents. Each night, I'd lock my door, sit on the edge of my bed, and read about Jesus, his words, his miracles, his love. I read how he healed the sick, forgave sinners, and gave his life on the cross for me. Every verse seemed to reach right into my soul, filling the emptiness I'd carried for so long. I whispered prayers to Jesus, asking for strength, for guidance, for courage. I could feel him there with me, like a friend who never left. But I had to stay alert. My father was paying close attention, noticing every little change in me. I stopped going to the mosque, saying I was too tired from studying, but he didn't buy it. "Omar, what's happening with you?" he'd ask. "You've changed. You used to pray with us, come to the mosque." He'd notice how much time I spent alone. I'd look down at my hands, sweaty and shaking, and quietly say, "I'm just busy, Papa." But his stare said he didn't believe me. My mother noticed too, though she kept quiet. She watched me with worried eyes, her hands always moving, cooking, sewing, but her silence said enough. I finally decided to reach out to Miriam, a Christian friend from school. I messaged her, asking if we could meet at a quiet park near the university, where trees shaded a few benches and kids played on nearby swings. I got there early and watched a group of boys kick a soccer ball around. When Mariam arrived, her small cross necklace caught the sunlight and she smiled warmly. "Omar, you look better," she said, sitting beside me. I opened up to her, told her everything, my collapse, the near-death experience, the terrifying vision of hell, and how Jesus had called me. I admitted how much I wanted to follow him, but how scared I was of how my family and community would react. Her face lit up. "That's incredible," she said. "Jesus called you just like he called me. I became a Christian 2 years ago. It was rough. My family didn't speak to me for months, but Jesus gave me strength and he'll do the same for you." She reached into her bag and handed me a small Bible, one I could easily hide in my backpack. "Keep reading," she said. "And pray, Omar. He'll show you the way." I thanked her. It felt good to have someone who understood, to know I wasn't alone. But at home, things got worse. My father became more suspicious. His questions got sharper. "Why don't you pray with us anymore? Why do you look different?" He watched me like a stranger, not his son. One night I went to wash my face and left my phone on the bed. My father walked into my room for something and saw it unlocked, open to the Bible app I'd been using. When I returned, he was standing there, my phone in his hand, face full of fury. "What is this, Omar?" he yelled, shaking it. "A Christian app? Are you turning your back on Islam? Do you want to destroy us?" I froze. My heart raced. My mouth went dry. I tried to stay calm, but my voice quivered. "Papa, I found the truth," I said. "Jesus is the way. He gave me peace. I saw him. He showed me everything." He threw my phone to the floor. The screen cracked on impact. "You're an apostate," he shouted. "You'll disgrace us. People will talk. They'll say we failed as parents." My mother rushed in, wide-eyed, trying to stop him. "Hassan, please," she cried. "He's our son." But he shoved her aside, his voice cold. "You're not my son if you keep this up." Then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I sank onto the bed, hands trembling, tears running down my face. My mother sat beside me, placed her hand gently on my shoulder and whispered, "Omar, I don't understand all of this, but I love you. Please be careful. Your father's so angry, and the people at the mosque, they're already whispering." I looked at her, my chest tight with sorrow. "I know, Mama. But I can't turn away from Jesus. He's the truth." She nodded, eyes filled with tears, and pulled me into a tight hug like she didn't want to let go. A few days later, something happened that changed everything. I was in my room trying to focus on homework when an email notification popped up from my university. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Congratulations, Omar Hassan. You've been awarded a full scholarship to study engineering at the University of Toronto in Canada." My heart leapt. I could barely believe it. A full scholarship. Studying abroad had always been my dream. I saw it as a sign from Jesus, a chance to grow in my faith, to be free, to live without fear, and to share his love with others. I ran to tell my parents, hoping this news might bring some peace. I found them in the kitchen, Mama chopping vegetables, Papa drinking tea. "Mama, Papa, I got a scholarship," I said, my voice full of hope. "To study in Canada, a full scholarship." My mother's eyes lit up briefly, but she glanced at my father and her smile faded. My father put down his cup, his eyes narrowing. "Canada?" he said, his tone sharp. "No, Omar, you're not going. You'll forget who you are over there. You'll drink, party, abandon Islam. You're already slipping talking about this Christian nonsense. I won't allow it." My mother's hands trembled as she clutched the knife. "Omar, please don't go," she said through tears. "You're changing so fast. If you leave, we'll lose you completely." I tried to explain, my voice cracking. "Mama, Papa, I just want to study, to grow, to follow what I believe. Jesus is with me. I'll be okay." But my father stood up, his chair screeching against the floor. "If you leave," he said, "you're no longer my son. You'll be dead to us." His words sliced through me and I felt tears burning in my eyes, and things only got worse after that. That night he went to the mosque. When he came home, he was furious. "People are talking, Omar," he said. "They say you've left Islam. They're calling you an apostate. The mosque leaders know. They're watching you. They say you've shamed us, that we've failed as parents." A chill ran down my spine. In Jordan, being labeled an apostate could be dangerous. People might attack you. Authorities could get involved. Families could be destroyed. The next day, I passed by the mosque. I saw the leaders standing outside, their eyes fixed on me. They whispered among themselves. One of them, an older man with a long white beard, pointed straight at me and said something to the others. It was his face, cold and stern. I kept my eyes down, heart pounding, and hurried past. Deep down, I knew I wasn't safe anymore. Back in my room, my hands trembled as I prayed. "Jesus, please help me," I whispered. "I want to go to Canada. I want to follow you. Give me strength." Once again, I felt his peace wrap around me, like a comforting hand resting on my shoulder, and I knew I had to fight for this opportunity, no matter what it cost. I couldn't stay in Amman, not with mosque leaders watching, not with my father's fury growing by the day. I had to go to Canada, even if it meant walking away from everything I knew. I had to trust Jesus. He had called me to follow him. After the scholarship came through, my parents were firmly against it. My father, Hassan, gave me an ultimatum: give up this Christian foolishness and stay in Amman, or leave and be cut off completely. "If you go," he said, "you're no longer my son, you'll be dead to us." His words felt like blades cutting deeper every time they echoed in my mind. My mother, Layla, wept as she begged me not to go. "Omar, please," she cried, her voice breaking. "Don't leave us! You're all we have! I can't bear to lose you!" I wanted so badly to ease their pain, to make them proud, but I couldn't ignore what Jesus had shown me. I had to follow him. I had to leave, to grow in faith, to speak his name freely, to live without fear. I tried one last time to speak with my father, hoping he'd understand. He was in the living room, sitting on our old couch, the TV on, but his eyes distant. I sat down across from him, palms sweaty, and said, "Papa, please, I need this. I'll be okay, I promise. I'm not going to Canada to party or forget who I am. I just want to study, to follow my faith, to become who I'm supposed to be." He turned to me, his expression hard. "Your faith?" he snapped. "You mean that Christian garbage? You're throwing away everything we taught you, for lies. The mosque leaders are already whispering. They say we raised a traitor. If you go, Omar, you're choosing that over us." My eyes filled with tears. "Papa, I love you, I love Mama, but I have to go. Jesus is the truth, I saw him, I can't turn away." He stood, his face flushed with rage. "Then leave," he shouted, "and don't come back. You're no son of mine." He stormed off, slamming the door. I heard my mother crying in the kitchen. I went to my room, my heart shattered, and started packing a small bag. I didn't have much, just some clothes, my cracked phone, a couple of books, and the Bible Miriam gave me. I tucked it into a rolled pair of socks just in case. I kept hoping my father would change his mind, that he'd come to my room and say, "Omar, I'm sorry, go to Canada, I still love you." But he didn't. Instead, my mother came in, eyes swollen and red, and helped me pack. She folded my shirts with shaking hands and said, "Omar, I don't understand this Jesus you talk about, but you look different. You're calmer now, less afraid. I just want you to be safe." I hugged her, tears streaming down my cheeks. "I'll be safe, Mama. Jesus is with me. I love you." She nodded, holding me tightly. "I love you too, my son." The day I left for the airport, I stood outside our apartment, my bag slung over my shoulder, staring at the door, hoping they'd come out to say goodbye. But no one did. I walked to the bus stop alone, heart heavy, and boarded the bus to the airport. Inside it was chaos. Families embracing, children crying, people rushing with luggage. I checked in, my hands trembling, constantly scanning the crowd, hoping I'd see them one last time. I kept wishing for my father's serious face to soften, for my mother's voice to say, "We're proud of you," but they never came. I stood there, alone, watching other families embrace, feeling like I was the only one without someone to say goodbye. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Jesus, help me, give me strength." And I felt it again, that peace deep inside me like a steady flame in my chest. I boarded the plane with tears in my eyes and left behind everything I'd ever known. When I landed in Toronto, everything was unfamiliar. The air was crisp and cold, biting at my skin. The wide streets were lined with glass towers and buildings that sparkled in the morning sun. People hurried past, speaking English so fast I struggled to catch more than a few words. I felt like a stranger in a whole new world. I took a taxi to campus, a massive place with neat green lawns, old brick buildings, and students everywhere, some rushing to class, others talking and laughing in groups. I found my dorm, a small room with a single bed, a desk, and a window overlooking campus. I sat on the bed, bag at my feet, overwhelmed by a strange mix of fear and freedom. For the first time, I didn't have to hide. I could follow Jesus without fear of mosque leaders or my father's anger. I began reading my Bible daily, sitting at my desk with the door shut, just in case. I read about Jesus, his love, his promises, his truth, and I felt closer to him than ever. I found Christian videos online, sermons, testimonies, worship songs that brought tears to my eyes. I'd watch them late at night, headphones on, heart full, amazed at the peace Jesus gave me. One night I watched a testimony of a man who used to be Muslim, just like me. He spoke about a dream he had of Jesus, about leaving Islam, and finding real peace. It felt like he was telling my own story. It gave me hope. I began praying more, asking Jesus to guide me, to show me how to live out his love. Then I found a Christian student group on campus, something I'd never imagined doing back in Jordan. I saw a flyer on a bulletin board and decided to go, even though my heart was pounding. They met in a small room with chairs in a circle and a table with coffee and cookies. When I walked in, a smiling girl greeted me. "Hi, welcome! I'm Sarah!" I sat down, nervous, and when it came time to introduce ourselves, I took a breath and said, "I'm Omar." I told them, "I'm from Jordan. I used to be Muslim, but then Jesus called me." I shared my story with them, how I collapsed, how I saw hell, how Jesus came to me and showed me heaven, how he called me to speak his truth. They listened closely. Some had tears in their eyes, others nodded, understanding. Sarah said, "Omar, that's amazing, you're our brother now." A guy named Michael, who led the group, placed his hand on my shoulder and prayed over me. I felt deeply loved, truly welcomed. They became like family. People who understood my journey prayed with me and helped me grow in faith. We met weekly, singing worship songs, studying the Bible, sharing our experiences. I started feeling stronger inside, more ready to do what Jesus had asked of me. He told me to share his truth, and I knew I had to begin right here in Canada. I saw so many Muslim students on campus, living like I once did, trying so hard to be good but still feeling empty. I wanted them to experience the peace I'd found. I began reaching out to some of them, like Ali and Mohammed, who were in my engineering classes. At first I was nervous, but I invited them out for coffee and we'd sit at the campus cafe, surrounded by the smell of espresso and quiet chatter. I'd say, "Can I tell you something?" And I'd begin my story, how I saw hell, how Jesus saved me, and how I found peace. They listened closely, their eyes wide. Sometimes they'd ask, "But what about Islam? What about the Quran?" I shared what Jesus had shown me, how I never felt peace in my prayers to Allah, but Jesus' love changed everything. Eventually I started a small Bible study in my dorm room. It was just me, Ali, Muhammad, and a few others. At first they were scared. "Omar, this is risky," they'd say. "What if someone finds out?" But I'd pray with them, read scripture with them, and slowly, they opened their hearts. Ali was the first to surrender his life to Jesus. One night after we read the story of the woman Jesus forgave, Ali broke down crying. "Omar," he said, "I want this. I feel so empty just like you did. I want Jesus." We prayed together and he accepted Christ. His face lit up with peace. I cried too, overwhelmed with joy seeing how Jesus was using me. But it wasn't always easy. Word started to spread. Some Muslim students got upset. One afternoon I was walking across campus when Khaled, a guy I knew from math class, stopped me with a group of others. They stared at me like I'd betrayed them. Khaled said, "Omar, we heard what you're doing, trying to convert Muslims, spreading lies, that's wrong." I tried to explain, my voice unsteady. "I'm not spreading hate, I'm just sharing the truth. Jesus saved me. I want others to know him too." But Khaled stepped closer, his voice cold. "You're a traitor. We're reporting you to the university." My stomach dropped. I walked away, hands shaking. A few days later I received an email from the Student Affairs office. They called me in. A serious-looking woman with glasses said, "Omar, we support religious freedom, but you're creating disruption. If this continues, your scholarship could be at risk." I was terrified. I'd worked so hard to be here, I didn't want to lose it all. But then, I remembered what Jesus said, "I'll be with you." That night, I prayed for courage, and chose to keep going. I had to keep sharing my faith, no matter the risk. Too many people still needed to hear about Jesus. Then one evening, I got a call from Youssef, my closest friend back in Jordan. I was sitting in my dorm, eating a sandwich, when my phone buzzed. Seeing his name made me smile. I answered, but his voice was soft and troubled. "Omar, I've got bad news," he said. "Your father's in the hospital. Something's wrong with his heart. It's serious." "He's been asking for you," Youssef added. "But he's still angry. He says you've brought shame on the family, that you're the reason he got sick." Then he paused. "The mosque leaders. They're spreading rumors about you. They're telling everyone you've rejected Islam, that you've disgraced your parents. Everyone in the neighborhood's talking. It's bad, Omar." My heart sank. The sandwich dropped from my hands. All I could think was, I wanted to go back, to see my father, to tell him I still loved him, to ask for his forgiveness. But I knew it wasn't safe, not with the mosque leaders turning people against us. I felt torn, between my new life in Canada and the pain I'd left behind in Jordan. I whispered a prayer, "Jesus, help my father. Help my parents find you. Show me what to do." I knew I had to keep going, keep sharing Jesus, keep trusting him to work in their hearts. That night, I sat at my desk in my little dorm in Toronto. The room was quiet. except for a few students laughing outside. My desk was cluttered with books and half-empty coffee cups. My Bible lay open beside me, worn and marked with notes. A small wooden cross hung on the wall, a gift from my Christian group. My thoughts kept circling. My father's illness, the rumors, the students I'd been talking to. I felt a pull to speak up, to tell the world my story, to help others feel the peace I'd found in Jesus. I decided to make a video. I'd never done anything like it before, but I felt Jesus urging me. I opened my laptop, adjusted the light so my face was clear, and took a deep breath. My voice shook as I began. "My name is Omar Hassan," I said, staring into the camera. "I'm 23 and I'm from Amman, Jordan. I grew up Muslim. I prayed 5 times a day, fasted during Ramadan, followed every rule. I tried so hard to please Allah, to honor my parents. But inside, I felt empty. Like nothing was ever enough. I was anxious all the time. Scared of failing, scared of not being good enough. I'd lie awake at night, asking Allah if He saw me. But there was only silence. I paused, swallowing the lump in my throat, and kept going. One day I collapsed in the street in Amman. I was fasting, exhausted, stressed about an exam. I hit my head and for a few minutes, I died. I saw hell, I saw myself burning, I felt my anxiety consuming me, no peace, no hope. I saw Sheikh Ahmed from our mosque, crying out in pain, screaming that the rules didn't save him. He warned me I'd end up there too if I didn't find the truth. I thought I'd never escape. A tear rolled down my cheek, but my voice was firm. Then Jesus appeared. A light so bright it pushed the darkness away. He showed me his scars, the nails in his hands, the wound in his side, and he said, "Omar, I died for you, to give you peace and eternal life." He took me to heaven. I saw a garden, a stream, a golden city, and there I saw my grandfather, a man I thought had died a good Muslim. He had believed in Jesus, silently, in secret. Jesus revealed the truth to me, that my faith in Islam couldn't save me. No amount of praying, fasting, or following rules could bridge the distance between me and God. He said, "Your works can't save you, Omar, only my grace can. I'm the only way to real peace." I leaned into the camera, my heart full. Jesus had shown me 2 possible futures. In one, I stayed in Islam, and ended up back in hell, my soul tormented, my parents mourning over my grave saying I had failed them. In the other, I followed Jesus and found peace. I saw myself smiling, finally free of anxiety. I was helping my parents, sharing Jesus' love with others. I saw people listening, their hearts touched by the same peace I'd received. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." He called me to be a light, to carry His truth into the darkness. I took a breath, steadied myself. When I woke up in the hospital, I knew I had to follow Him, but the road wasn't easy. My parents didn't understand. My father was furious. He called me an apostate and told me I'd brought shame on our whole family. I'd earned a scholarship to study engineering in Canada, a door that felt like freedom, like a place where my faith could grow. But my father told me if I left, he'd consider me dead. I left anyway. Because I knew Jesus was with me. I left everything behind, my home, my family, and came to Toronto. I smiled, thinking of the life I'd found here. A new beginning, a new family, Christians who welcomed me, prayed with me, and helped me grow. I joined a student group on campus, and they embraced me like a brother. I began studying the Bible. I found sermons online, worship songs that moved me, testimonies that felt like my own. I felt closer to Jesus than I ever had before. His peace was always with me. Eventually I started a Bible study for Muslim students. I shared my story, how Jesus rescued me and gave me peace. Some listened. A few gave their lives to Christ. One of them was my friend Ali. He looked at me and said, "Omar, I finally feel free." I cried with him. Seeing Jesus work through me was beautiful, but it wasn't without challenges. Some Muslim students found out and became angry. They reported me to the university, accusing me of spreading hate and trying to convert others. I was called into the office. They warned me I might lose my scholarship if I kept causing problems. I was scared, but I couldn't stop. Jesus called me to share His love, and I had to obey. Back in Jordan, things were even harder. My father had gotten sick. He was in the hospital with heart trouble. My friend Youssef called and told me, "He's asking for you, Omar, but he's still furious. He says you've brought shame on the family, that you made him sick." Youssef paused, then added, "The mosque leaders are spreading lies about you. They're turning people against your family. Everyone in the neighborhood is talking." My chest tightened. I wanted to go back, to sit beside my father, tell him I still loved him, to ask for forgiveness. But it wasn't safe, not with the mosque leaders fueling the fire, not yet. I looked straight into the camera, voice steady, filled with hope. "I'm sharing this because I want you to know who Jesus is. He's the only path to true peace. I paused. The Bible says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." That truth changed everything for me. If you're feeling lost, if fear is eating you up inside like it did with me, call out to Jesus. He's waiting. He sees your heart. I remembered what Miriam once told me back in Jordan. He loves you, no matter where you're from or what you've done. I ended with a prayer, hands folded in front of me. Jesus, please touch the hearts of everyone watching. Show them your love and peace. Please heal my father, soften his heart, help my parents come to know you, and give me the courage to keep speaking your truth. Amen. I smiled, my heart overflowing. Will I be reconciled with my father? Will my family come to know Jesus? I don't know yet, but I trust him. I looked at the camera. Share your story in the comments, I'd love to hear it. Then I stopped the recording. My hands trembled slightly, but I felt free, like I was finally doing what Jesus had prepared me for. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding, and whispered, "Thank you, Jesus." Just as I closed my laptop, my phone buzzed. A message. It was from Miriam, my Christian friend in Jordan. I opened it, eyes wide. She wrote, "Omar, I've been sharing your story here on campus. Some students are asking questions about Jesus. They want to meet you when you return. They're searching for truth because of you, but be careful. The mosque leaders are still furious. They're watching your family closely." My heart raced. I was overjoyed. People in Jordan were starting to seek Jesus. But the fear crept in too. The mosque leaders were still stirring things up. And my father, would he ever forgive me? Would he find Jesus before it was too late? Still, I knew what I had to do. I whispered another prayer. Jesus, please protect my family. Keep using me to reach more hearts. And as that familiar peace settled over me again, I knew, no matter how hard the road ahead might be, I was exactly where Jesus wanted me to be.